I'm Liyana Hassanel and Nightline begins now. News making the headlines. Federal court rules crash victims should be automatically compensated. And 10 companies in Malaysia have potential to become unicorns. Good morning. The federal court, in a landmark ruling on Tuesday, has held that road accident victims should be automatically compensated without having to sue insurance companies. A three-member bench led by Federal Court Judge Dato' Abdul Rahman Sebli said the provisions in the Road Transport Act 1987 should be construed to protect all motorists, including victims of road accidents and innocent third-party road users. Dato' Abdul Rahman said the Act had to balance two competing interests, with the first being to protect innocent third parties against the risks. On the other hand, he said the law also had to protect insurance companies from being victimized by fraudulent claims. In setting the balance between these two competing interests, at the end of the day, the loss had to fall on one party. Dato' Abdul Rahman said this in his 140-page judgment that allowed appeals involving 8 different motorists, 7 of whom were injured in accidents. In explaining the decision, Dato' Abdul Rahman said that all vehicle owners were required to have compulsory insurance coverage because the law states that the Road Transport Department would not issue road tax without insurance coverage. In the event of an accident, a victim injured by a vehicle could sue the vehicle owner, but with valid insurance coverage, the insurer or insurance firm would step in and provide the necessary compensation and damages to the victim on behalf of motorists. Malaysia is expecting to see 10 potential unicorns, valued at over $1 billion by 2025. According to Cradle Fund Sdn Bhd Acting Group CEO Norman Matthew Van Heek, a research shows that there are 10 emerging local startups currently.
Currently, we are targeting 5, but as at today, we've already got 1 with Qasim and another one that's coming up very soon, that's going to be announced very soon. I think it's Craftjet, that's going to be listed in Nasdaq very soon. So that could be our second Malaysian unicorn. So, but in terms of our pipeline, there was a study done by KPMG and HSBC as well that has listed 10 emerging startups in Malaysia.
He was speaking after the MOU signing ceremony between Cradle Fund and Microsoft Malaysia to empower startups in Malaysia on Tuesday. Cradle, an agency under the Science, Technology and Innovation Ministry, is still looking into all local startups, which stands at more than 2,000 companies to identify potential unicorns. In order to develop these unicorns, a program called My Unicorn is developed under the Malaysian Startup Ecosystem Roadmap, or SUPER. The roadmap aims to transform Malaysia into a top 20 global startup ecosystem by 2030. The unemployment rate continues to show a downward trend, recording 3.8% in June 2022, which is the lowest since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the country. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Datuk Sri Mustafa Mohamad, said the number of unemployed persons decreased to 630,600 in June 2022, from 637,700 people the previous month. Citing the June 2022 Malaysian labour force statistics published by the Malaysian Statistics Department on Tuesday, Datuk Sri Mustafa said the country reached full employment since April 2022. In terms of the unemployment rate being below 4%, as defined by Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD. Therefore, he said the position of the labour force was more stable following the increase in the number of workers of 0.2% to 16.57 million people, compared to 16.54 million people in May 2022. He added some key economic indicators also showed encouraging performance, such as the volume of trade, which increased by 43.4% in June 2022, to a new high of 270.4 billion ringgit, with exports recording an increase of 38.8% to 146.2 billion ringgit. Looking at this development, Datuk Seri Mustafa stressed that he is confident that the national economy will continue to grow this year at the targeted rate, which is between 5.3% and 6.3%. Taking into account various key economic indicators that reflect better recovery momentum and the expectation that more job opportunities will be created, Datuk Seri Mustafa also said that the unemployment rate is expected to move to a long-term trend, which is around 3.4%. The Dewan Negara has unanimously given the green light for the Anti-Partyhopping Bill. 7 senators were absent when the voting took place, with 52 senators present supporting the bill, with 33 senators participating in the debate on Tuesday. The Constitution Amendment Bill No. 3, 2022 was tabled for its second reading by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob.
Rang undang-undang yang akan saya bentangkan ini bertujuan untuk meminda, memansuhkan peruntukan sedia ada serta memasukkan peruntukan baru dalam perlembagaan persekutuan bagi mewujudkan peruntukan larangan ahli Dewan Rakyat bertukar parti.
He added that the government takes seriously the act of party hopping, which has caused many debates and polemics among the general public involving the mandate or trust of the people who elect the representatives in the Dewan Rakyat. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri explained that the prohibition on changing parties at this stage does not apply to members of the Senate, taking into account several important aspects of legal issues at the state level. On July 28th, the bill was approved by a 2/3 majority vote in the Dewan Rakyat. Later at a media conference, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law, Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, said a period of 1 month has been set for the adjustments to be put in place.
Selepas ini, rang undang-undang ini dikembalikan kepada Kamar Peguam Negara untuk buat satu kerangka untuk dimajukan kepada Duli Tuanku untuk diperkenankan Duli Tuanku di bawah perkara 66/3 Perlembagaan Persekutuan.
The bill is seen as the best measure by the government to avoid a political crisis in the country. Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi had said the government's purpose in introducing the bill was also to deal with the crisis of change in government due to action by elected representatives in changing parties for political and personal reasons. In other news, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri on Tuesday reminded users of mobile instant messaging applications to be wary of irresponsible parties attempting to hack their online accounts. He said all users must stay alert and not fall for any form of messages they received, as hackers can have various ways to manipulate the users.
Sebenarnya kita akan minta, saya pun dah melaporkan kepada MCMC supaya MCMC lebih proaktif dalam perkara ini. Bila dapat saja laporan, tentu saja akan diambil tindakan sebab takut digunakan kita punya identiti kita untuk menipu orang lain dan sebagainya.
Earlier, the Prime Minister's office had said that Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri's personal Telegram and Signal accounts had been hacked and believed to have been used for fraudulent criminal activities. It also advised those who received messages from the accounts concerned to ignore them and report to the authorities.
12 pasukan berentab demi menjulang Piala Idaman. Kami bawakan kepada anda perlawanan tumpuan Liga Super 2022. Hanya di TV 9 dan Astro 149.
Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah is proud with the government's efforts in protecting and preserving the health of future generations through the tabling of the Control of Tobacco Products and Smoking Bill 2022 in Parliament. The King feels that the matter is a noble endeavour and hopes that all Malaysians will give their support so that this bill can be studied and scrutinised.
Saya begitu bangga setelah mendapat maklum dan juga laporan daripada pihak kerajaan, khususnya Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri, yang mana satu lagi rang undang-undang yang telah pun di table kepada Parlimen yang berkaitan dengan rang undang-undang kawalan tembakau dan rokok, yang mana telah pun diputus untuk dikaji secara lebih mendalam.
Al-Sultan Abdullah said this when opening the National Institutes of Health Complex in Siti Alam, Selangor on Tuesday. The king pointed out that young people need to be educated to adopt the best health practices in order to avoid things that could be detrimental to health and reduce the government's expenses on hospital care. Malaysia has received the first batch of Bangladeshi workers on Tuesday. Human Resource Minister Datuk Seri M. Saravanan said the arrival of the workers followed the Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) on the recruitment of Bangladeshi workers signed between Malaysia and Bangladesh on December 19, 2021. In a statement, Datuk Seri Saravanan said the group of workers would be employed in the manufacturing sector, adding the entry of the Bangladeshi workers into the country would be carried out in batches. According to the minister, the Bangladesh High Commission last week confirmed the applications of 80 local employers involved in the recruitment of 6,000 Bangladeshi workers. Employers who have made levy payments to the Immigration Department and intend to employ Bangladeshi workers can apply for employment verification and documentation to the High Commission. The MOU, which is effective for 5 years until December 2026, was signed by Datuk Seri Saravanan and Bangladesh Expatriates Welfare and Overseas Employment Minister Imran Ahmad in Kuala Lumpur. The Kuala Lumpur High Court acquitted and discharged former Director General of the Malaysian External Intelligence Organisation, Datuk Hassanel Abdul Hamid, for criminal breach of trust (CBT) involving $12.1 million, and that's 50.4 million ringgit, belonging to the Malaysian government 4 years ago. Judicial Commissioner Ros Mawarozain made the ruling after allowing Datuk Hassanel's application to free her of the charge, as it was not objected by Deputy Public Prosecutor Muhammad Fairuz Johari. The court said, based on the fact that the prosecution has no desire to conduct the case, Datuk Hassanel is acquitted and discharged from the charge under the Penal Code. On April 12, 2021, Judge Ahmad Shahrir granted DNA aid to Datuk Hassanel after the prosecution applied not to continue with the case. The trial commenced on October 6, 2020, whereby a total of 10 prosecution witnesses testified in the case. On October 25, 2018, Datuk Hassanel pleaded not guilty to a charge of committing the CBT when serving as the Director General of the Research Division of the Prime Minister's Department. The charge, the Penal Code, carries a maximum jail term of 20 years and whipping, as well as a fine upon conviction. Meanwhile, former Sabah Infrastructure Development Minister Datuk Peter Anthony was freed by the Special Corruption Court on Tuesday on 5 counts of money laundering involving 8.75 million ringgit and abetting a lawyer in committing criminal breach of trust. Judge Abu Bakar Manat discharged and acquitted Datuk Anthony after the prosecution from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, declared that the former minister's representation was accepted. Deputy Public Prosecutor Haresh Prakash Somaya informed that the representation letter forwarded earlier by Datuk Anthony had been accepted by the Chief Federal Counsel and asked for the latter to be given a discharge not amounting to an acquittal on all his 6 charges. However, Counsel Martin Tommy asked for a discharge and acquittal, which the court agreed upon. Datuk Anthony was charged with the offences on June 11, 2020. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. Following the acquisition of the Sharia compliance certification obtained from the Board of Sharia Advisors, Atami Malaysia has been able to expand its marketing activities as well as to engage in corporate social responsibility, CSR. Atami Malaysia Country Manager Sean Kim said through its various CSR activities, the company will be able to assist those burdened by the high cost of living due to inflation.
Atami practice a culture of the sharing. Every profit of the company will distribute back to the need. In the society. In Malaysia alone, more than the 6 million Malaysia ringgit has been donated to the community, especially the B40 community, debt associations, the homeless centers, and others.
Based in South Korea, Atami has more than 20 branches worldwide. Atami Malaysia was established in 2016 and has received the Super Brand Award, SME 100 Awards, and the Asia Pacific Enterprise Award. He said this when met at the launch of the Synthesis Art exhibition at Gallery Prima in Balai Berita, the New Straits Times Press in Bangsar on Monday. The event was graced by Raja Permaisuri Agong, Tunku Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria. The exhibition, currently being held until September 18th, features more than 40 batik pieces designed by Tunku Azizah, alongside artworks by established and emerging artists. On the exhibition, Kim said further collaboration between Atami Malaysia's Sindarin Berhad and Media Prima Berhad is likely, following their successful partnership in the Synthesis Art exhibition. As he said, it has presented a platform for both companies to work together again in the future. Coming up next, at least 8 dead as floods submerge streets of Seoul. Stay with us. We're back with news from the foreign front. 3 Palestinians, including a senior armed resistance commander, have been killed by Israeli forces during a raid on the occupied city of Nablus. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, 69 others were injured due to gunshot wounds. 4 of them were in critical condition. It was understood that Israeli army have surrounded a building in the Old City on Tuesday morning, where Ibrahim al-Nabulsi, the commander of Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, had barricaded himself in. Israeli forces then launched a shoulder-fired missile at the building, causing death of the 3 Palestinians. The latest violence comes 2 days after deadly fighting between Israel and Palestinian fighters in the coastal enclave of Gaza was halted by a truce. Israeli forces have conducted near-daily operations in the West Bank in recent months, focusing on Palestinians. Over in South Korea, at least 8 people have died while 7 others were missing after record-breaking rains hammered the capital Seoul, turning streets into rivers, submerging vehicles, and inundating metro stations. According to officials, rainfall of more than 100 millimeters an hour was recorded in Seoul, surrounding areas of Gyeonggi Province and the port city of Incheon on Monday night, while per hour precipitation in the Dongjak district has surpassed 141.5 millimeters at one point, the heaviest hourly downpour in Seoul for 80 years. This prompted Korea Meteorological Administration to issue heavy rain warnings across Seoul and the metropolitan area of 26 million, as well as parts of Gangwon and Changchun Province. It said it expected heavy rainfall in the central region of the country to continue until at least Wednesday. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol, in the meantime, has ordered the evacuation of residents from high-risk areas and encouraged businesses to adjust their employees' commuting times. Indonesian Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto has registered his political party for the 2024 national election, signaling a likely third presidential bid for one of the country's most controversial politicians. The 70-year-old Prabowo registered his Gerindra party on Monday, saying he would run if nominated by its members. The minister arrived at the Election Commission with the leader of another coalition party, the National Awakening Party, feeling speculation of a political alliance between them. Prabowo has lost to incumbent President Joko Widodo in 2014 and 2019 elections. But with Jokowi limited to 2 terms in office, jockeying is underway ahead of polls to decide who will lead the world's third largest democracy. Sports, the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. Having shed blood, sweat and tears for 11 days, the national contingent ended their campaign in Birmingham with their heads held high after raking in 7 golds, 8 silvers and 8 bronzes. Their success sees them equaling the feat achieved at the 2018 edition in Gold Coast, Australia, where they returned home with a haul of 7 gold, 5 silver and 12 bronze. The 7 gold medal garnered by the national contingent surpassed the 6 gold target set. Malaysia, however, had to wait till the last day to do it, with national women's doubles shuttlers Pearly Tan and Tina presenting gold number 7 when they easily defeated England's Chloe Birch, Lauren Smith in the final. The Commonwealth Games debutantes produced a remarkable performance to send the English pair packing 21-5, 21-8. Pearly and Tina were among young national athletes who made their marks at the Games. Also making Malaysia proud were shuttler Ng Se-yong, weightlifter Muhammad Aznil Bidin, and gymnast Ng Jo Ee. As the Games come to an end after being officially opened on July 28th, Malaysia ends their campaign in 10th place in the medal standings, which is an improvement compared to their 12th place in the 2018 edition. Australia retained their title as overall champions with a haul of 67 gold, followed by hosts England and Canada. Turning to tennis, the National Bank Open. Serena Williams eased into the last 32 following a straight-set win over Nuria Paritzas-Diaz. Serena had no trouble seeing off Diaz as she claimed a 6-3, 6-4 win. The 3-times champion won all her Canadian titles in Toronto before the tournament was moved, and next faces either Belinda Bencic or Teresa Martinsova for a place in the last 16. Venus, however, failed to follow her sister Serena's footstep. The former world number 1 suffered a 2-6, 3-6 defeat to Jill Teichmann. The Swiss will next meet world number 2 Annette Kontaveit for a place in the last 16. Also in the next round was Sloane Stephens. The 2017 U.S. Open champion was dragged to a 3-set battle before clinching a 6-2, 6-7, 7-5 victory over 2020 Australian Open champion Sophia Cannon. Third-seeded Maria Sakkari of Greece awaits Stephens up next. Harsher punishment for Mat Rempit. This and more after the short break. The seriousness of COVID-19 infections in the country is not determined by the number of infections reported alone. Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin said the focus must now shift to the severity of the cases, which can be seen through the number of deaths and hospital admissions, especially as the country is transitioning to the endemic phase. Khairy said it is now common anywhere in the world for the number of cases reported to be less than the actual number of infections due to more relaxed testing protocols. He said Malaysia will see increases and drops in the number of new cases due to waves of infections from time to time.
Dulu kita melaporkan 1,000 ada hari yang sampai 300. Sekarang ni dah so baseline kita dah naik sikit disebabkan Omicron BA5. Tapi as long as kemasukan hospital, utamanya ICU, kematian masih lagi paras yang rendah, maka keadaannya akan baik.
Khairy also said that compared to countries like Singapore that face a large Omicron BA5 wave, Malaysia is facing a small but prolonged wave. He also urged the public to follow the SOPs and report their COVID-19 test results via the MySejahtera application. He stressed that when results are reported, it makes it easier for the Health Ministry to monitor the actual situation in the community, aside from also looking at the number of deaths and hospitalizations. Earlier, Khairy attended the launching ceremony of the National Institute of Health NIH complex in Siti Alam, Selangor on Tuesday, which was graced by Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah. The Road Transport Act will be amended to impose heavier penalties on illegal motorcycle races in an effort to combat such activities, which are dangerous to other motorcyclists and road users. Transport Minister's Secretary General Dato' Isham Ishak said the amendment involves on higher fines, prison terms and seizure of workshops that the motorcycles for illegal racing.
Kita akan mengenakan hukuman yang lebih berat dengan kadar minima saman yang akan dikenakan akan ditingkatkan. Kedua, kita juga akan mungkin menimbangkan hukuman penjara kepada pemandu-pemandu ataupun pelumba-pelumba haram ini. Kerana mereka sebenarnya bukan sahaja membahayakan diri sendiri tetapi mereka membahayakan pengguna-pengguna jalan raya yang lain.
Dato' Isham spoke to the media at the Pulau Pinang Contingent Police Headquarters in Georgetown on Tuesday. The amendment of the Act was made following the accident on July 17th, where 5 men died and 2 motorcyclists were seriously injured. He added that those who were found to be racing illegally are now fined 300 ringgit, but the summons will be increased to 5,000 ringgit or 10,000 ringgit to prevent such illegal racing activities. Dato' Isham also said the local authorities may also be empowered to confiscate and revoke the license of workshops that modify motorcycles for illegal racing activities. The amendment of the Act is expected to be tabled in October this year. Over in Iceland, locals and tourists have gathered near Fagradalsfjall volcano to watch it spew out lava and streams of molten rock. The onlookers have described being mesmerized by the dancing flames as the volcano began erupting. Let's take a look at the natural spectacle as we wrap up Nightline this time around. And with that, I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thank you for tuning in and take care, Malaysia.